Okay, so you guys are thinking about moving to Portland, Oregon.
Today we're going to talk about some of those lesser known quirks you're going to want to know about before you move here.
So grab your coffee and let's go. Hey everybody, my name's Aaron Cullen and this is Brandon Cullen. And together we have a real estate company right here in Portland, Oregon. If you guys are thinking about moving, go ahead and reach out to us. Our information's right down there in the description area, or you can just snap a picture of the QR code and our information will be downloaded to your phone. How cool is that? Okay, well, let's get started today. This is a really fun topic. I love talking about Portland and especially some of the lesser known aspects of this city that we've gotten to know since we moved here about 6 years ago now. One of the coolest things about Portland is there's so many cool, quirky little things about it. Our first topic we're going to talk about is wildlife. What to expect. I know it's kind of a weird topic, wildlife.
This one made me laugh.
We are here in the Pacific Northwest, so we do have wildlife, and I don't know where you're moving from, but here you expect to see, especially in the city, especially if you're close to like bigger parks, you're going to see coyotes and you might see deer. Now, the further you go out from obviously like the city center into the more suburban areas, you're going to see a lot of deer, and you could end up seeing quite a few coyotes. So if you have dogs and cats, you definitely want to keep them indoors, especially if you live in the suburbs, because it could be a snack. One of the wonderful things like we like about living in Lake Oswego is that we see tons of deer all the time. Like every day we see deer crossing the street in our yard, and it's so cute. The kids have been able to grow up just seeing baby deer, born every year in the spring.
Yeah, every spring there are baby deer born, and usually a couple of mamas have twins, and you see these little like spotted Bambi fawn just prancing through the forest with the light. It's pretty magical.
It is magical. And I will never forget, it was like the first few months that we had moved here, and it was a foggy morning, and I was taking out the trash cans, and it was still dark out. And I saw just coming up the middle of the road, out of the fog, was this giant figure. And I was like, wait a minute, what in the world is that? Is that a bear? What is that? And it was a giant, like male deer with their big antlers, just like the biggest buck I had ever seen, just walking down the middle of the street.
I always remember our daughter's birthday is always right around Thanksgiving weekend. And so the first year we were here, we had a bunch of family in town, and for her birthday party, right outside in our front yard was a family of like 6 deer, and they were like laying in the grass and eating some leaves, and there were some buck with antlers and then some mamas and babies. Like, it was pretty magical, and everyone was like drawn to the front windows.
Yeah, and they were just sitting in the front lawn like the entire birthday party.
They belong here, yeah.
Okay, on to topic number 2. What do you got?
So in the whole state of Oregon, you cannot pump your own gas. So gas stations are not self-service here. And at first I find this a little bit annoying because, I don't know, I like to just be able to do things myself without waiting. I like the kind of restaurant where you can like order at the counter, but it's still good food, you don't have to wait. But after some time getting used to this, like, why would you want to pump your own gas? Your hands get all dirty, it's cold and rainy. So it's actually really a treat, and it takes no time at all. You pull up, someone's there immediately, and they fill up your gas for you.
Tipping is optional. It's accepted, but you don't have to do it. And they actually just recently changed the law, so now you can pump your own gas. Some gas stations now I've seen just make you do it. So I still go to the gas stations where, actually I have an electric car now, so I don't have to, but I still go to the gas stations with her car where they will pump your own gas, and most gas stations will just do it for you.
It's often some teenagers, so I give them like a couple dollars if I have it.
Next, let's talk about street naming quirks. Now, if you've never been to Portland, you're coming to visit, your phone with the GPS on it, that is gonna be your best friend, because the naming can get a little tricky around here. Without going too deep into the map and how all that works, for example, we're divided into quadrants. So we have like Southeast Portland, Northeast Portland. Well, Northeast Portland could have a 20th Street and Southeast Portland could have a 20th Street. So that's something to be aware of, and they're two totally, different places.
I think just driving here in general takes some getting used to, because also, like, what side of the freeway are you exiting from? It could really be either way, and there's not a lot of like forewarning. Or another item on this list is Portland is the city of bridges, bridge town. We have 12 bridges that cross the Willamette, and sometimes the lane you're in very quickly is about to cross a bridge, and all of a sudden you're on the east side of town without meaning to be.
And there's like a good 10-minute detour that you did not intend on.
So just driving takes some getting used to. Luckily, people here are really nice and patient, and for the most part, it's not like a crazy, like, honking traffic situation where people are frustrated and going
That's
fast.
right. And that brings us to the next topic, which is the vibe of the people of Portland. Because people aren't really road raging here, it's more of a chill, more mellowed out vibe here in Portland, a little bit more relaxed, a little less, hustle and bustle, a little bit slower pace of life.
When we first got here, you definitely were like, honey, slow down. Like, we're not in California. When I was driving,
Yeah. I kind of forgot all
that. Now, I drive like, the suburban mom that I am. And in fact, yesterday in the car, someone was driving incredibly slowly in front of us, and our 4-year-old said, I wonder if that's a grandma. And I think he might say that because I call myself a grandma when we drive.
Well, there you go. So don't need to be in a rush. If you're here visiting, just, chill if you're driving around a little bit.
Okay, but that laid back nature here in Portland, also on the list, we had coffee culture and cannabis culture you had included.
Yes. So just so you're aware, you might already know, but Portland is known for their coffee and their very good coffee. And we have so many local coffee shops spread all around Portland, even in the suburbs. Yes, we have our Starbucks, and you can get your Starbucks fix if that's what you're into. No judgment here, but I would encourage you, go explore some of the local coffees. You might just, be surprised. You're going to see more local people there. You could strike up a conversation, ask questions about the area. I think it's a great way to get to know a neighborhood is by doing a little Google search for the local coffee shops.
I'm definitely a coffee person, so whenever we're out exploring a different area of Portland, because we're, going to an event or something, I am famous for scoping out like where are we going to get coffee in this area and finding the best little local coffee shop.
Yeah. Like today we got Jola's in South Portland,
which is one of our like our OG coffee places from when we first moved here. And like they own another coffee shop in West Lynn called Lark Cafe. Most people probably don't know that those are owned by the same people, but like I'm a nut, so I figure these things out about coffee. And it's just a good way to scope out like what are the people like in this neighborhood and what are the coffee, like what's the coffee like?
Yeah. And then also cannabis shops. Cannabis is, for recreational use, is legal in the state of Oregon. So you're gonna see a bunch of cannabis shops, all around the city and the neighborhoods. Some towns in the outside of the suburbs don't allow them, but in the city of Portland, you'll definitely see a bunch of them. So that's just something to be aware of. You'll probably maybe see some people out smoking it in parks or out and about, things like that. You might smell it. So just something to expect. Don't worry about it. Nobody cares.
Okay, on the topic of local coffee shops, I think local business in general is something that Portlanders pride themselves on, like having a local business. Supporting local is just huge here, and there are so many like small, creative, artisanal shops just in every part of town, whether it's food or a yarn store for knitting or home goods, bookstores, like Portland still has several independent bookstores, then those are just like dying out in cities in general, but not here.
Yeah, the residents really support local businesses, and hey, we have a local business too. So we really love supporting local businesses, and it's really kind of like a community, like vibe, coherence that people really do like to support local, and that even goes to like the farmers markets and supporting the local farmers and going to local, like pumpkin patches, and those are all kind of run by, instead of just getting at the supermarket, you can go support your local farmer.
Right. I was just pointing out to Aaron when we were in Jola Cafe that they're selling a brand of chai, and we had just met the people who started this brand of chai at our farmers market like 2 weeks ago, and I've seen it in 2 local restaurants here recently. So just kind of a cool feature of Portland is that the thing about a small local business is that the quality and like the special features just tend to be so much, like, to me, more just higher quality and better value and more interesting.
All right, next on our topic, let's talk about air conditioning. Now, depending on where you live, you probably take air conditioning for granted. Well, only about a third of the homes, 33% of the homes in Oregon, in the whole state, have air conditioning. Now, in recent years, with global warming, we're having bigger temperature swings, so that means there's longer periods in the summer where it's getting pretty darn hot. Overall, though, the summer is very mild, very temperate, and just downright enjoyable. Probably one of the best climates in the whole US for the summertime, that is.
That's absolutely true, and you're gonna want air conditioning.
That's right, but you do want air conditioning, especially central air if you can have it. Now there's all different types of homes here. If it's an older home, chances are, here's a little tidbit, if the home has central heating but not central air, it's really easy to add central air. You just add a compressor to it, call your HVAC company, and they can come give you a quote. They just tie it into the system of your HVAC, and use all that ductwork is all there. So, and a lot of the new builds too, that builders are doing that are under $1 million, they're usually not offering air conditioning. It's like an extra that you have to pay to add it into the system. So again, you expect to pay, I'd say, anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000 on average for a normal sized home to add air conditioning.
Okay, next up, late night food options. So this one is kind of a funny thing, but just something to be aware of. If you're coming from a city and you're used to like going out to eat at 8 or 9 p.m., like that was you when we lived in LA when we met, honey. You like ate dinner at 9 on average.
Yep, but probably. It doesn't feel like that late, but
it was.
Maybe it was.
Because I've never been that late night person, but a lot of people do eat 8, 9, 10, not here. So your restaurants here are not going to be open that late in general. In general,
they're closing around 9 o'clock on a weekday. Now, if you get more into the city, they might be open a little later. Some might be open till like midnight, but in general, expect like, a 9 or 10 p.m. closing of your normal restaurant hours.
We were just in Jola and they serve dinner Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Dinner ends at 8 p.m.
Wow.
And that's
PM,
like,
wow.
We're in Portland right now. And then on Friday and Saturday, they're open until 9.
Yeah.
So just something to be aware of.
Yep. Otherwise, you might find yourself eating at one of the local breweries, which isn't bad either, but then you're gonna have more pub food, that might be available until midnight. Next is liberal politics. Now, if you've heard about Portland in the news, you probably know that Portland leans very progressive, definitely more liberal for sure than it does conservative.
So it's just worth being aware that that influences everything from policy to community culture, and understanding how that is going to align with you and your values. I think it really shows itself in terms of like Portland is proud of being very inclusive, and so it comes out in all those ways, even like supporting small businesses and the creative culture.
Wait, look at this sign right here. It says City Rhythm number 2, commuters, joggers, and raccoons.
Speaking of that urban wildlife,
Yep.
raccoons.
You can expect to see raccoons
Jogging.
as well. Okay, so that also adds to Portland's quirkiness right there and kind of laid back atmosphere.
Okay, here's one on a totally different side of things is if you are allergic to pollen, springtime can be a little rough because
Yes.
this is a pro if you're not allergic to pollen, is that everything is blooming here in the spring. You know, all the trees that have lost their leaves in the fall are blooming, flowers, grass, everything is blooming. And there's like a fine layer of pollen covering everything. So if you are allergic, you're probably gonna need some antihistamines in April.
Yeah, I actually never had allergies except for when I moved here, and I only get them, and it affects everybody different. I only get it for about 2 to 3 weeks in the spring. As soon as the grasses get cut for the first time, then I usually do like an antihistamine for a few weeks, and it kind of bothers me, and after that I'm good. So definitely something just to be aware of. Okay, if you guys have any questions about moving to Portland, go ahead and reach out and give us a call. Again, my information's right down there, and you can see in the description area my email and phone number. All right, everybody, I hope you found value in this video. I sure had fun making it. So I will see you guys on the next one that's coming up right now.